one more series for our day. And I would say our most interesting series is going to be Wildcard going up against Golden Guardians. And the thing is depending on how this shakes up, we could have a lot more matches for the day.
We could. If this is a 1-1, I mean, 2 of our 3 tiebreakers depend on this series going 1-1, right? Fear and Team Liquid Challengers have already played out all of their games, so they cannot move at all. But they might still have to play today anyway if Wildcard and Golden Guardians go 1-1. And I think it's probably the most likely tiebreaker situation that we are currently facing based on everything that needs to happen. It doesn't need that ridiculous of an event to cause this tiebreaker to go off.
They're neck and neck in the standings, Golden Guardians and Wildcard. Power level-wise, I would rank similar to each other, although I do think I give it to Golden Guardians a little bit. Wildcard have been slumping, showing that they are not necessarily dominating every team throughout the whole split. They started strong, but they've been, I did the math, 3-7 in their last second half of the split. So they're actually kind of fizzling out the hype that we had for them. I think teams are solving it, and I do actually favor Golden Guardians as being a team that can continue to solve that puzzle and pick up the 2-0, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So it is still, pretty possible that we do have tiebreakers.
It is important to note that while they are 3-7, they're also facing the tougher half of the standings as well, right? Going up against Team Liquid Challengers, 100 Thieves Challengers, Fear, FlyQuest Challengers, and Dignitas Challengers. Only one of those during that period was not in the top half of the standings.
I mean, I feel like, too, Wildcard's a team that the more you doubt them, the better they perform. It's like, I don't know, just when everyone's kind of like, okay, maybe they're overrated, or, oh, we're not really expecting anything coming out from this roster. That's when they perform. Even in the earlier weeks when we didn't really have the expectations of this team that we do now, talking to them in interviews after, it was like, okay, yeah, like, we have stuff to show you guys. And even if things have been a little tough for this roster as of late, I feel like there's definitely some tricks up their sleeve. It's just whether we get to see them in this series or not.
Now, can I just say that one of the things I love about Wildcard is that they aren't all just facing the camera. You got some mix-ups coming through as, both Keel and Lens, if Soligo had his arms out, like, over their shoulders, I feel like that would have been super, super king stuff, we'll say.
This is the hard-hitting analysis that I love on this broadcast.
Yeah, you just gotta get Soligo to T-pose in one of these photos, and we can set it up with Keel and Lens as the... And they support him.
That's good, that's good. They clearly understood the assignment. This roster won the hearts of a lot of fans very quickly in the split. Their first weekend, they took down Immortals, which we hyped up to be a good challenger team, and then AoE, which we hyped up to be like the provisional team to beat, and then... just kept getting wins with unique picks. I mean, things like the Garen from Moose Hater has now hit international stages, so there's obviously reason why people are fans of this team. And I still struggle to think of how they're going to take down Golden Guardians, who have also been surging a little bit here in the second half of the split, because they face kind of a different trajectory where they've been crushing it, basically, lately. I know that they did struggle... in their games yesterday. They did get 2-0'd by FlyQuest, so that is a little concerning maybe, but FlyQuest are also on the up and up, so I don't put too much weight behind that.
We'll have to see, but Wildcard, I mean, their fights and what they bring to the Rift, there's definitely a couple of things. You're saying that you struggle to see the window. I feel like even just in like the last couple of weeks, we've gotten to see some amazing flanks. We've gotten to see some amazing opportunities coming out from the team. So there definitely could be things there that they could be showing up against Golden Guardians.
Yeah, but one of the big things, though, is that Golden Guardians are probably our best team fighting team in the entire league. They are so good, and I want to give a lot of praise here, in particular to Young and their ability to find different flanks. And so I feel like a lot of what we're going to be seeing today is going to be kind of this head-to-head that we have between Young and Soligo, because you have one of the best flankers in the league going up against one of the best anti-flankers in the league, right? Soligo is so good at finding all of these marks, and Young is so good at finding unique angles that it kind of creates an interesting dichotomy between these two players as to which one can actually find the lead and be strong enough to make their will felt.
Golden Guardians have been getting their wins through their team fight. And Wildcard, I think in a same way, but in very different approaches.
Very different style, yeah.
Yeah, different style. It's Moose Hater that's the flanker for this team.
And at the same time, you also have Concept, who's kind of like the reverse of Saligo, not necessarily an anti-flanker, but kind of like, I oftentimes call these kind of players like midfielders, where they are very fluid between whether or not they want to be moving up the field and being a striker, if they need to fall back and help out the goalies. And it is definitely a spot where you can kind of look to see how effectively Moose Hater will actually be able to move up into the backlines for some of these fights, as the reverse of what we've been looking at with Young.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how that all shakes out. And you bring up such good points. Just the fact that Saligo is just this person that can just really just watch out for a couple of different things that they can have planned.
I think Oriana is going to be pretty high priority for Saligo in a match like this, because you want something. I mean, he has played the Annie too. I think he's one of the better Annie players in the league. Something where you can say, all right, I see the flank coming, and I'm going to stop it. Young, you're CC'd, you're zoned away from the fight, because Young has been stepping up a rookie player. If it weren't for Masu, I would say Young is kind of the front runner for the most impressive rookie that we've had so far in the league, and what he's been able to accomplish. So, can the rookie get around Saligo, who has been the goalkeeper so far for Wildcard and keeping a lot of shots at bay? That's the question.
We also want to shout out Prismal. He's another one of the people, actually both Young and Prismal are kind of on our list of people that are in the talks for most valuable prospects so far in this year. Young has a little bit of time to play on LCS, and what we've heard from basically every player that has played with LCS teams is the amount of learning you do in a single block of scrims oftentimes feels like a week of learning that you might have here in the Challengers League. And that's what they've been saying. We've seen that Young had some time in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, and Prismal roll swapping down still makes some really int plays, but he also is constantly looking for opportunities, and it means that he will look really good and really rough. And you know who else did that? Jojo Pyun.
That's a good point. All right, Prismal next, Jojo Pyun. Joshi said it first.
I don't know about that. We'll leave that to Cubby's hot takes on Twitter.
The biggest thing about Prismal that I can add to that is the fact that he is, in my opinion, one of the most creative engagers that we have in a league that doesn't have all of our supports go in for the engaged champions or being the primary engages. We've seen mostly like Sejuani's, Vi's, things like that in the jungle pool. With the meta shifting a little bit, I actually think this is going to be really good for Prismal, because it will enable him to be continue to be the primary engage for the team, which is kind of how they've been playing anyway. But if it fits the meta better, that's just even better for them.
Reminder, a tie between these two teams means we got 2 more matches to play out today, either of them taking a 2-0. Means that everyone could go eat dinner on time. It's time to get underway with the draft of our very first match.
Thank you, Sierra. I gotta say, I'm rooting for it. I want the tiebreakers, Josh. Are you rooting for it?
No.
No. Why?
No. I mean, they're kind of fun, but it's also definitely the kind of thing where it's like the tiebreakers, I feel like they're just there because teams weren't able to perform during the regular season. And I feel like that's one of the things that whenever you find yourself in a tiebreak, you're kicking yourself. Because you're like, man, if I had played this one other game before, we've heard it best from Chad, is like, if we go back and look at our games, there were 8 games that we should have been able to convert that we weren't. You never want to find yourself in a tiebreaker because you messed up earlier on. And so, as we start going into this, we are starting to see some of those crucial, unique picks for Wildcard already taken off the table. Kills Nunu, Duo King Senna, and I'm expecting Moose Haters Garen.
I was going to say, will they pass the Garen test? Because every team has been passing the Garen test. In the second half of the split, I don't think he's gotten to play Garen because he's just banned every single time. Will Golden Guardians maintain that course as they've lost up the Blitzcrank, which often is banned against Duo King as well, but that is available to pilot. Wildcard banning away the Gragas, the Xayah, and the Thresh. That means the Aphelios Thresh combo, the Xayah Rakan combo, both off the table. The primary AD carry, or rather just bot lane duos that we've seen so far today, will not be available.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit surprising to see whatever it is that we are going to be going for. And they do pass the Garen test. Golden Guardians do ban that one away. And so now we will see what it is that Moose Hater will kind of shift to. We have noticed a couple things. One, teams are taking red side going up against Wildcard. And as the Cho'Gath... Look, I don't agree with Cubby. Cho'Gath is not this good. But we've also seen Wildcard do it with weirder picks.
I mean, what counters it? We saw Gnar struggle against it in lane. It did end up winning that game, but still struggled against it a little bit. You can't go for the Scion. A lot of the carries.
You know what does counter it? Mundo. Mundo is one of the best picks that you can pick into Cho'Gath. And you know who the best Mundo player in the league is?
Concept. Concept's the best Mundo player in the league. I would love to see it. That would be so cool. Because we talk about Concept Shampoo and what he brings to a team. He's almost always playing weak side, but that's where he's most comfortable, and his champ pool often enables that, even though it wasn't necessarily what was meta at the beginning of the split. If you can pull it out here, why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, right? Some of the biggest things that are huge counter picks to the Cho'Gath are things that haven't been seen for a while, right? Mundo is probably the one that Concept plays best, but Gwen's pretty good. Fiora's good. Singed is, like, you kind of ignore each other more than anything else. And so the fact that Cho'Gath is a stronger character right now oftentimes is kind of the difference maker. But yeah, Mundo, Gwen, Fiora, Ornn are like the really big counters right now into the Cho'Gath. And we know that several of these are in Concept's wheelhouse. I'm kind of hoping to actually see if we could get Concept to play a Fiora game. That would be really cool. It's something that's a little bit outside of his wheelhouse, but I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're looking at growth, seeing how players can actually evolve on the stage.
I love seeing players play to their strengths, especially when it's unique picks, but we also like to promote when they are showing that they're learning, growing, trying out new things. Wukong, Jinx locked in for Wildcard to round out their first draft. Now, Golden Guardians, they can pivot here if they want to put Young onto the Annie mid. I think you hold that, but there's the option to go for something like a Lulu bot with the Zeri, depending on how things look in the mid lane. Or you can just grab it now.
Or you can just do it.
I mean, I would have liked to see a jungler, because then you're kind of forcing the Lulu ban from the wild card. But no, they're just going to go for it. So that means that mid lane has been blind picked.
There's a Blitzcrank ban as well. The Lulu is going to be coming through. Provides a lot of safety so far. And it's a little bit interesting to me that after seeing the Cho'Gath, you do lock in the Annie, because Annie really struggles to like DPS down a Cho'Gath, even if you go for some kind of burn build like Leandra's, Demonic Embrace, Rylai's, where you just prevent the Cho'Gath and it's just there's like, I can't move and I'm on fire this entire time. It takes a long time for Cho'Gath to actually die, and so you see the Sion ban come through. A little bit surprised. This is why Cho'Gath came into the meta in the first place, was how good that matchup was.
It can stop everything Sion tries to set up here, specifically the Q. You can stop that from hitting the minions, hitting yourself. Also, you gotta. And the miracle comes through. We got gameplay, Josh.
And some weird-ass champs coming onto the game as well. Take a look at what we got. We got Malphite versus Singed top lane. Cho'Gath's in the mid lane.
We got a Sona?
I mean, if it was anybody else, it'd be weird, but it is Duo King. This is one of their most played champions historically.
And it's also just Wildcard, so it's been a whirlwind of a day. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. Sorry for the delays. We didn't finish the rest of Pick Ban. We got right into the game, so the players won't have to wait around any longer. So that's why we're reacting live to a lot of these champs locked in. Talk to me about Malphite versus Singed in the top lane, Josh, because I can guarantee you we have probably never seen this in Academy of Challengers before.
Historically, the way this matchup has been good was mostly the fact that Singed did damage and Malphite didn't. So it was definitely a spot where Malphite really needed to kind of run over the early game before Singed had built up damage, before the Rise had come through. And Singed has a massive, massive ability to control these side lanes later on. Now, I was looking up some data just to double check to see if that is still true. It looks to be less true now than it used to be, because these two champions kind of just coexist and they have very opposite game plans. Whereas in the mid lane, I feel like this Cho'Gath is actually going to be really good into Annie. And with the amount of magic damage that Golden Guardians already does, they're going to need to get some Void Staffs pretty darn quick if they want to do any damage to these guys.
I feel like Lens is going to have a lot of space to work with a Cho'Gath, Malphite, Wukong as your front line, and even a Sona sitting next to you. Like, yeah, Young can look for a flash engage. You got to worry about the J4, I guess, but it feels like you have enough tools. I kind of like what Wildcard put together, also just because it is, of course, Wildcard, and they are the kings of weird, wacky drafts, and still pulling them off, making them work.
Yeah. We were also setting up how differently these two teams were kind of trying to play against each other, right? It was a situation where we're setting up for Soligo versus Young, the flanker versus the anti-flanker. And I think depending on how Young actually builds, and seeing that he does have the first strike, it is a spot where Young is going to be very focused on actually trying to lock down individual targets, burst out Lens, because if that guy dies, suddenly there's not really an opportunity for Wildcard to fight back in a lot of these team fights. They do not have the front-to-back damage left over, and they're not going to be catching Array as long as they're on point with the ability to dodge away from Moose Hater's ultimate.
Yeah, the flankers of Moose Hater and Young have very impactful ults to find those flanks with. It's about marking both of them, and I'm just so happy that Concept is doing this right here on your... Wait a minute. Am I happy he's doing this? Okay.
It's okay.
Sure.
The big thing here is that it's going to line up a lot more with the second wave, so when Concept walks back to wave, both of these waves are going to be crashing at about the same time, so he doesn't miss anything because of this.
Yeah, it's actually going to be crashing back into him because the waves are doubled up now, basically. Interesting call there. Concept would know how to play Singed. It is one of his, pocket picks along with the Mundo. Yeah. And I remember back like week 2, week 3, during one of our meetings, we were talking about Moose Hater's champ pool and being like, yeah, Concept's really the only other top laner in the league that's got like weird champ picks. Oh, they don't play each other until the last day of the regular season. I hope it delivers.
Yeah.
It's delivering. We got the Singed.
There's a big part of me that wishes the Singed was a Mundo, like we were kind of setting up. It's pretty good into the Cho'Gath. It's also really good into Malphite. Malphite just never really wins the 1v1 ever, and Mundo is going to be really hard for this team to deal with because of how good they are as a front line. And with the changes they made to Mundo's ultimate, where you just get this burst of HP and then you start healing, makes you much more resilient to things like Saligo's Cho'Gath. But do you remember the last time I think we saw Cho'Gath mid? I believe the last time was when High played it in LCS.
I feel like we might have seen it another time, but we'll get back to that. Prismal and Rosethorn are hanging out around Saligo, who is winning the mid lane matchup right now. Prismal will do a little bit of damage back to him, as Young's been taking damage from these ruptures plus the Comet combos. Actually, not taking the better of these trades. I think it kind of makes sense for the Annie in a way. We'll keep our eyes on that matchup going forward, of course. A big thing to note, though, is Moose Hater has to teleport top lane. Concept did not, because he walked all the way there. Could go for another proxy and then TP back into lane and keep it going. Like, yeah. I actually think Concept's in a really interesting position in this lane.
And they'll basically be trading Perfect CS for a little while, and that's kind of why we were setting up that these two characters just kind of coexist. They don't necessarily do anything to each other. They're just going to trade Perfect Farm, and Singed absolutely loves that situation. It's not the easiest thing for Keel to do anything about it. There's the sneeze until he's actually level 6.
Waiting for that one since the pause.
Yeah,
he's still walking top lane. He's not going to teleport. There is the Dragon startup, so maybe Concept could teleport down if there's action bot lane as Keel's walking up. Young's holding the approach. Keel's got to be careful. Young does have the Annie ultimate, can look to blow him up. Lens and Duo King are flanking Golden Guardians as Keel goes in onto the Dragon. It's consumed. Saligo secures the Dragon objective, and now they've repositioned front to back. Wildcard can get out too. Young flashing forward, gets the stun onto Duo King. The double knockup though from Saligo. This Cho'Gath has played it so well. The Rosethorn onto the backline, gets Duo King. That's first blood. A Rosethorn flashes to safety. Another kill to Array, who will fall to Lens. This Jinx might just pop off here. Is excited. Polymorph goes down. Double kill into a death as Young gets the credit.
God, I feel like I'm watching South Park. Timbers! Every single time. He's doing so much damage that entire time. The bear is the MVP of that fight, just sitting in that the entire time. But I also want to point out when we watch this back, watch how Array just completely ignores Saligo, right? Saligo can't do a whole lot of damage when the feast is down, and props to Saligo for coming in with the feast to pick it up. But after that, this fight becomes super weird. We're seeing a lot of scaling champions hitting each other over and over again. And the big thing here is that as Young goes through to get these stunned down, Tibbers is just chilling in the middle of the fight the entire time. And they're going to be doing so much damage once it actually walks in. Everybody standing on top of this, just burning over and over. And Lens walking through it is actually taking more damage from that than Array was taking from Saligo. It just sits there, it stays on top of everybody, and Tibbers is the MVP.
Nicely done, Tibbers. Nicely done, Young. 1 kill, 3 assists on the Annie mid lane, and we'll get to that Rod of Ages very quickly. Much faster than Saligo will be hitting his. And Nats also 4 kills to 2. The one big thing, though, is Wildcard got the Dragon, so they can walk away from that feeling all right about the situation. Yeah, they're down in gold, but it doesn't feel too doomed.
The big thing is the fact that Lens gets 2 kills, Array gets 1 kill and 2 assists, right? You already called out Young, getting the Rod of Ages, will be scaling into the game better than if they went for like a Rocket Belt or something like that. But now they present a little bit less damage to Lens and Duo King for quite a while. Whereas Array needs to do one thing. They need to not get engaged on by Keel, and then they're gone, right? It is going to be so easy for Array to be the big boss of this game that you need to hunt down because you have Malphite, you have Wukong, you have Cho'Gath. All 3 of these characters, if they get on top of you, can win the fight. But if they don't, you kite them for forever. And with the additional HP provided by Prismal, suddenly it becomes very, very difficult for Wildcard to go for a lot of these fights. They have been so reliant on their setups and being at objectives first to actually find some of these team fight wins.
And they went first to the Herald, which is picked up by Rose Thorn and Golden Guardians. Concept continues the proxy farming, and now they can use that Herald probably into Array further. I mean, why not just continue getting this area ahead?
There was a be careful ping, and then Concept immediately counter pings, I'm going here. He's like, oh, don't worry.
Turn again.
He's totally fine.
He's got 2 deaths and no kill credit earned from Wildcard for those. This is incredible gameplay. I'm very happy that I get to guess this one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's super entertaining. Soligo should be okay. That's a big chunk of money getting picked up by Young as well as they clean up this wave. Remember, when this Tibbers disappears will be about the same time that the next Tibbers comes up. So, we're looking at a potential dive coming here in the bottom lane.
Rose Thorn linking up with Prismal right now.
No flashes.
They're going for the dive. It's just a level 5 zone, a Cataclysm to start things off. The Flag and Dragon's interrupted. Trade of kills. Lens gets 1. Moose Hater looks to ult onto Array, who just skips over the wall to safety.
Oh my gosh, I love the Angry Bee coming through. I was shocked at that missed as well as Soligo doesn't get the feast onto the Tippers, which does give you one that doesn't count towards your minions and monsters. At least it didn't used to. But now, Prismal.
Wait, Lens is still the support is just looking to solo kill Lens. We'll get some help from Array. One more auto should have it. Oh, no. Prismal! Let's go!
Get a Prismal. That's what we're talking about. 3-0-3. I'm the carry now. This is the Prismal we've been looking for. Major playmaker, even as an AD carry, when it was kind of hardening up. But the same playstyle applied to support works way better. But here, with no flashes on Duo King or Lens, once they're in the Cataclysm, they can't get out. But the traps coming through from Lens do guarantee that Rose Thorn will at least be traded back on the other side of the fight. And here, Array. Oh, it's a Z-axis thing. Okay, that makes more sense. Array looked like he was a little bit further down, but because of the wall, Moose Hater can't actually get some. Hey, look, Concept.
Hey, he's back.
Here we go.
Is he gonna die at the turret again?
Probably.
Come on, execute. Execute, Concept. Do it for the memes.
Ooh.
Okay.
We'll be backing away. It has gotten late enough in the game as now Moose Hater is proxying on the other side.
Josh, what is this game?
I'm having a good time. I'm having a great time. So we should actually establish the. You can definitely feast this one.
Or you could die to it. I mean, Keel has to flash away right there. Barely escapes. A lot of burst damage from Golden Guardians.
Yeah, Sligo doesn't feast on it either. Keel actually stays alive. Let's set the stakes again a little bit because we do have to remember that if we're doing our math correctly, this is for third place. Whoever 2-0s this is guaranteed to be in control of third place because Golden Guardians will be too many games ahead of anybody else to actually catch. They will be +1 on Cincinnati Fear, 100 Thieves, and CLG. And if Wildcard win, they will tie themselves with the number of games with those aforementioned teams and also have won 7 of their games. Or 7 of their series. Which is
if you have more
massive.
2-0s than anybody else tied in the game score, then you take first place in that clump. It's a little weird with best of 2s, but that's just how it works out.
And you remember what we were talking about, who that means you play in playoffs. This is the difference between playing against Team Liquid first and Evil Geniuses Challengers for third compared to fourth. Whoever gets a 2-0 here would have a big advantage going into that. And so both these teams won at Prismal. Yeah.
Just rude. Yeah, so we hyped up the 1-1 would mean a tiebreaker scenario. A 2-0 means that you get third place for yourselves. No matter how this series shakes out, there will be major playoff implications because of this final best of 2 of the season. I love that it comes down to this, and I love that this is the look the teams brought regardless of the stakes. This has got to be the highest stakes regular season game that we've had. And they're playing this. This is incredible. We got Concept dying twice, executing the turret.
Yeah, again, Moose Hater is still on the far side doing the exact same thing. I guess executed yet. He's just 5, and both these guys are getting close to perfect farm. They're both over 10 per minute. So is Saligo. Actually, props to Saligo on doing that so far.
True.
But
all right, I gotta ask then, Josh.
Yeah.
Who's ahead in the top lane? Or I guess it's really, and Golden Guardians are ahead in gold. So let's look at it just for Concept and Moose Hater, because it feels like Concept really hasn't been getting much done because of the proc scene.
The big thing, as we kind of touched on, is these two characters don't interact.
Okay, Moose Hater has the ultimate, can probably just use it to get away. We'll have Flash coming off cooldown as well, pulled back. Unstoppable Force, when does he choose to use it? He's actually running to the turret. He can use the Seismic Shard to get the extra movement speed. He's grounded. Concept can fling him back into it. Moose Hater will have to use the Unstoppable Force at some point, or he will just die to the poison and the minions. There you go. That's a solo kill? Wait, how did Concept get a solo kill credit for that?
Yeah, it took way too long as the Jinx Rocket heads for the other side of the map. Not sure what that was aiming for. Maybe looking for Prismal, maybe trying to find them, but still at the same time, this game is wild, man. This is not what I was expecting for our last series of the day. And now Concept is winning, right? This is definitely a position where after having found that solo kill and just kind of knowing what Singe will be doing, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to really deal with Concept. You have to use a lot of crowd control on him to prevent him from distracting Lens and then running out through the other side of the fight. Whereas on the other side, you do know it is, again, the same thing. If Moose Hater and Keel and Saligo kill Array outright, they win. If they don't, if Array gets out with even just a sliver of HP, Array is probably going to carry the fight.
And then you're probably overextended so far that now you got a Singe on your back line. You got Young punishing, along with Rosestorm punishing your positioning, so it gets really tough if you don't blow up that Zeri. I gotta echo that sentiment. It's not going to be an easy game for Wildcard to play out, but step number 1, I think, is get Moose Hater out of this lane. Don't have him 1v1 Concept in the side lane. You want this Malphite to link up with the rest of the team, go for the big engages.
Yeah. It's also going to be interesting to watch because you are expecting the Singe to be building a Rylai's. It's not ridiculous to say that Young is also probably going to get a Rylai's at some point. So there's a lot of slows on these relatively immobile characters coming out from Wildcard. But they are still 1-1 in Dragons, and I expect that the next Dragon will be the first time we get to watch these two teams interact and how they will actually be setting up against each other. We set up the two mid laners as kind of being the stars here, but so far, Golden Guardians, they're calmly ahead, 3,500 gold on the map, and Saligo's not going to have a great time going into Concept either.
Oh yeah, not with that Demonic Embrace completed, 2 stacks on the Dark Seal. Concept is a problem in a side lane right now. Can shove in very quickly as Golden Guardians have the first rotation for the Dragon up in 28 seconds. They're dropping the Herald bot lane. See if Wildcard walk in to contest. As of right now, they're just controlling mid lane instead.
Yeah. So we are going to be seeing 2 turrets falling all at once. That's a lot of gold that will remain unspent from Golden Guardians before this actual fight. But they are looking for this big brush.
Yeah, Keel polymorphs. He's chain CC'd and he's dead. Well done, Golden Guardians. They are so sneaky with these brushes. They've been doing this all split, but they're going for even more. Rosethorn jumps onto Saligo.
It's a lot.
Has the follow-up of Young. Prismal and Array, meanwhile, find themselves in their own little fight here against Moose Hater. Rosethorn goes very deep onto Duo King, and they have the damage. Concept is there. He flashes back. Array repositions. Array's free firing, but Saligo takes down Rosethorn. Without killing Zeri, though, the Golden Guardians can easily run away with this fight win. Concept chasing down Moose Hater, who still has the Unstoppable Force. Tries to get to the turret and flinged right on back. Young with that kill credit.
Wow, a Rosestorm being dead. I wonder if Golden Guardians actually go for the drag. It doesn't look like it. I do want to praise Concept real quick for the fact that despite his executes, he's otherwise not died so far this game. But also the fact that he holds on to the fling. This is really good. You take down the one person you can try and go for some of these big smites, but you do need to make sure you get the Cho'Gath as well. And so, while they use the Rift Herald as a distraction card and fix on the other side, they try and take this fight before Moose Hater can actually participate. They still have a Lulu over there trying to zone. But the big thing, as we start to watch this come through, we get to see why Saligo can be such a threat. He's already doing that much damage to one of the tankier members. Yes, it's true damage, but still.
Oh, we got another fight. Teleport from Moose Hater. Doesn't have the ultimate available.
Same with Concept, but his is up faster. He's got the Rileys completed.
It's going to be about, I guess, 15 seconds for Unstoppable Force to be up. That's the engage tool for Wildcard, unless Saligo can find something big. Maybe Keel goes in as the primary engage instead. Golden Guardians are posturing defensively. Concept has a flank angle. And Young is over the wall with Tibbers stun ready to go.
Yeah. Golden Guardians don't actually want to set up any DPS situations for a Wildcard. I really want to see Concept come in and start creating chaos. They force Saligo to the far side of the fight.
Yeah, Saligo's not going to be able to go in to try and steal with the Feast, which means it would be a
here we
smite
go.
fight. Concept gets onto Duo King. Duo King's just out of the fight immediately. Actually survives for quite a while. Young has to go to stasis as Moose Hater went for the engage. Young probably down here, but the backline Keel gets onto him. And without Lens around, Wildcard are in trouble. Golden Guardians absorb Moose Hater's engage, take him out, while Concept has just been on a solo mission back here, taking down Keel. Saligo has the Feast, saved it the whole time. Concept does get a little punished there, as Prismal now finds himself in a 1v1. He does not want the team is coming to try and save him, and they will do just that and earn themselves this dragon.
Array lived through all the burst. There was just a small lapse from Saligo of not controlling the flanker, and Golden Guardians are blowing this game apart. Absolutely great stuff coming through from Golden Guardians. It's part of why we praise them as the #1 team fighting team, potentially in the entire league. They've been looking so good throughout this entire split, and again, it feels as though this was a team that snuck up on everybody. Just based on their names, they were not the team that we were expecting. We'll take another look at this. Watch how Concept breaks through Saligo, right? He just runs right on by him because the Rupture is not coming out fast enough. That has been Saligo's job throughout so many games, preventing Concept and other flankers from getting to the backside, but as soon as Concept is here, Duo King's dead, Lens is dead, Concept 1v2s him on the far side. Array, he doesn't have a lot of HP, but you just need 1 HP left for Lulu to buff you up.
Concept did so much work in that
this
fight,
but, you
just
know.
by existing. Like, he just ran at him.
Oh, there's another fight.
Oh, another fight live right now. Let's jump to it. Wildcard have low health bars for Keel. Everybody else still up. Keel jump back over the wall. I don't think you wanted to do that, buddy. Young's here. He's got the burst damage. Oh,
get him, Tibbers.
enough to kill him, though. And Moose Hater Saligo are buying space. Rosethorn will have to disengage. Try and find a retreat path here. Right, time for Array to join in. Nobody goes down.
Yeah, I mean, just the power he has just by existing. He can put his boots on the ground, and suddenly it's so difficult for Lens and Duo King to really do anything. As we see another turret going down, this is going to be yet another side objective going down for Golden Guardians. They will have time to spend the gold before they do anything, and oh, I thought they were looking at the Baron. They can actually tank it pretty effectively just by throwing Tibbers onto it and not taking any damage themselves.
They're on it.
They're on it.
Lulu can shield
Tibbers?
up whoever's tanking. Young's not a lot of DPS. They want Array to get on there for sure. But there is a teleport coming from Wildcard, so they actually sniff this out. Golden Guardians are pushed off. A little worried of getting stepped on there if they stay in the pit for too long.
Yeah, you do have to be very careful in these kind of situations. We've already talked about how if you step into the fog of war against things like a Blitzcrank, it's very scary, but an Annie is another one. Just the Tibbers, you do not know exactly when it's coming. And Young does have the ultimate available upcoming, but oh man, the damage is starting to mount up from Lens as well. They're typically a player that we look at for having strong early games, and it was a chaotic early game to say the least. Now they're already on 2, but will they be able to punch through Concept and Rosestart fast enough?
2 items on both carries right now, as both have the opportunity to pop off in these fights. Wildcard are trying to keep vision around the Baron, but they're losing stuff bot side. Concept will take another turret, shove another wave in. Nobody on Wildcard is capable of actually matching this Singed in the side lane, which makes their positioning for the map play so difficult. Like, how are they supposed to realistically set up for this Baron or even to contest it? Because Golden Guardians can just disengage and then keep pushing in these side lanes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole theory behind how Golden Guardians are going to be looking to play out the rest of these fights. Is the answer is Wildcard shouldn't be able to. If Golden Guardians do everything correctly, they'll only catch glimpses of people running around, and we can see that Golden Guardians are hitting.
Yeah, Wildcard committed to teleport to stop the first dragon attempt. Now they're going to have to just walk up to stop this one.
You can't do this. You cannot commit to DPSing.
Yeah, Rosenor's taking a lot of damage for this. I think the Golden Guardians need to peel back. They're out of there. It is so scary to stay on the Baron against a Malphite Cho'Gath combo. Wukong in there as well. Like, everybody can dogpile on, so Golden Guardians decide to back off. It's just a game of chicken, basically. Like, will they check the Baron? They did? All right, let's go.
All right, let's go.
2 seconds later, will they check the Baron?
The biggest problem for Golden Guardians is, as long as Soligo is alive, you aren't even worried about the 50-50 coming out from Kiel. You're worried about, like, the 70-30 coming out from Soligo, right? It is so hard for junglers to outsmite the Cho'Gath, and you can't afford to take those risks as they are continuing to walk around. 9 stacks on the Feast already. The increased money from playing here in the mid lane has a Horizon focus. This is a full damage Cho'Gath.
That's insane.
Can we see how much damage this Feast actually does?
I don't know if we can see it. Maybe if we hover over it. 777, lucky number right there.
To champion, 1502 to minions and jungle monsters. That's 300 more than a smite.
Yeah, it's going to be so difficult, nigh impossible, to actually sneak an objective away from this Cho'Gath.
Yeah.
Has one more to get for minions, too, so.
Perfect. Well, thank you. They can still continue to get more, and they will get even larger when they hit level 16, but it is Wildcard who are setting up, and here's a teleport coming in from Concept to try and break up the lines. Moose Hater is spotted off on one flank, and Wildcard are pretty only okay at front-to-back team fighting. Now they're trying to find Concept.
They got to keep Lens alive. You see them positioning right now. It's everybody around Lens saying Jinx is our carry in these fights. Concept's just sticking on the wave, though, right now. It looks like the fight's breaking down. Moose Hater can look for an engage. Flash out from Rosethorn. They disengaged for now. Now Concept onto the back line. He's going to get onto Lens. Lens is picked off, has to flash away, and he's still focused. Slowed down. Lens out of the fight. Wildcard have no shot now. Concept with a very patient flank angle gives an ace to the team.
We always spend so much time praising Moose Hater for being a good flanker. It is Concept who's taking that role in this game. Comes around the side, the rocket belt comes through, and what are Lens and Duo King to do? Not much. Concept now opening up the bottom side of the map. You were hoping for some cool picks coming through. Golden Guards are here with it, with the Cinch. Now they take 3 objectives at the same time. The bottom lane, the Dragon, and they're also on the Baron all at the same time. Golden Guardians doing a fantastic job closing this one out. And I was worried. Rosethorn uses the Q and doesn't have the flag down to go to it at all. But Moose Hater missing the ultimate and nobody marking the Singed. Lens comes right around the middle, throws him in on the rest of the team, and the Rylai's across every single member. What is Lens to do? He just goes down. Dookie caught in the middle. They're AoEing everybody. And Golden Guardians continue to show why we have praised them as our best team fighters.
You have to mark Concept. He ran to the wave. They thought, okay, we have a couple seconds to push in 5v4. If you don't find that initial engage, the fight is going to be pretty much impossible. So now Golden Guardians are basically on their victory lap here. The 12,000 gold lead, Baron buff. Everybody ready to go. Soligo does see Rosethorn right here is doing some damage, but the full AP Cho'Gath landing a full combo only did about a fifth, maybe 2/5 of Rosethorn's health bar. Okay, maybe a second combo will be enough. A Feast could actually take him down, so the wild growth from Prismal will keep him alive for now. Starts the back, Wildcard. They need to find something here. Right now, Lens is alone, though. Will just get soloed by Concept. Guardians
they're fighting.
Engage. Young throws out the Tibbers, doesn't find anybody.
But they're taking the turret.
Safe for now.
Yeah, still buying enough space, trading ultimates back and forth, and there is going to be another turret going down while the Baron is still running for Golden Guardians. Concept doesn't have the teleport, doesn't have the ghost, but still has enough pressure in the mid lane to force people to actually move over. I love the fact that Wildcard are fighting for every inch of territory on their side of the map, but it is still going to be both of these structures falling. But Moose Hater didn't actually go for anything. They are the one with the big engage ultimate, and Golden Guardians, I love the fact that they're not even giving it an opportunity to.
take out the tier 2 mid. They'll take out the bottom jungle camps. At least the red buff. It's the only one that's up right now. They got a big wave here. I'm wondering how they're going to try and crash their waves. They still have Concept alone. They're walking this one up. There's no turret here, so Wildcard will be able to hit this, but they do not have defensive tools.
Yeah.
As Concept is trying to crack
Concept can just run by Saligo if he wants. It's such a dangerous flank, and that's why you see Moose Hater also like semi-marking Concept at the same time. That's going to be an inhibitor going down as well. People are going to be leaving, and Golden Guardians, do they want to continue pushing this forward? It is definitely, the more time that you give Wildcard to scale, the scarier this Jinx, the scarier this Sona becomes. Golden Guardians, they can't afford to take the foot off the pedal.
Hyper late game scaling from Sona as a support, one of the best scaling supports in the game right now. Quite behind as it is currently, but yeah, theoretically, they could get to a point where she is back in it. Concept, meanwhile, just clear out an entire wave with like 2 seconds of the queue. That's kind of fun to see.
You see some item completions coming through for Wildcard, which doesn't make their job easy considering they are 13,000, 14,000 gold behind at this point, but it is crucial, right? Now we got to pay attention. How does Wildcard's game plan change? They have not been good at dealing with teams that engage upon them first. Wildcard are so reliant on being the ones deciding when fights are actually happening. They just don't have that ability in this game. They do not have vision control. They're like, oh, there they all are. Well, I'm glad we didn't walk in that bush, but eventually you're going to walk in that bush and they're going to be there and you're going to be sad. And so here we go, looking for another engage. Rostar's a higher level than Moose.
Golden Guardians are just going to go for their own play. They say, oh, well, let's not wait around any longer. Moose Hater is not tanky enough to hold all of us. Look at the item differential between Moose Hater and Concept right now. Absolutely absurd. Getting Flame Horizon as the rest of the team is engaged on underneath the mid-turret. Golden Guardians showing a surge at the end of the split. A double kill to Young, the rookie mid laner. Starting off their final series with a win in very unique fashion. Deathless on their mid laner and support. Golden Guardians make quick work of Wildcard.
Honestly, really good stuff coming in for Golden Guardians. The way that they played this, the way that they have continued to surge, the way that they have been quietly proving that they are one of our better teams in the league has been incredibly impressive. But Steve, we got to talk about what is happening in the next game. If there is a tie, we will have 2 tiebreakers to play later on today. If Golden Guardians win, they will take sole possession of 3rd place and knock Wildcard down to the middle of the pack.
A lot is riding on this next game. Most importantly, all of our dinner schedules. So we're going to send it to a short break while the players get ready for game number 2. We'll bring Sierra back after the break for our final halftime show. We'll see you there.